Hi there, and welcome to the Modern Musician Survival Guide podcast. On the last episode, we had Sarah Bronnard, founder of Da Capo Digital, a digital marketing agency for classical musicians. And on that episode, she explained very clearly what her process is, how she thinks about digital marketing and about strategy for social media for classical musicians. And in this episode, I would like to reflect upon what we talked in the conversation with Sarah, also what inspired me, and kind of describe my process and also give some practical tools and the practical workflow which I adapt and how I see and use social media. If you haven't listened to that episode, go back and listen to that because the way Sarah explains it is really clear. It really takes away all of the kind of mystery and complexity of social media for classical musicians, and you can walk away from that episode with really clear steps. The last episode really inspired me to approach my social media from a different perspective, and that's the kind of episodes that I really like, the ones that want you make to take action. And the first thing that I think stayed with me from the last episode is that you, or we, musicians, we need to get really clear who our audience is. Who are we posting this for? Are we posting this for potential audiences who can come to our concerts? Are we posting for people who want maybe to learn the instrument? Are we posting for people who are interested in taking lessons with us? So it's really very important to get clear on who you are posting for and having that audience member in mind when you do that. One other thing that I took away from the conversation with Sarah is highlighting the process, not only the end goal. Because before I was thinking, okay, what do I post now that I don't have a concert? Maybe I just kind of showcase what I play, but then I would just record one bit and then think, okay, this is this piece, enough, now I need some new piece. And we cannot hold 10 hours repertoire just for recording, at least in my opinion and in my case. So highlighting the process, what does that mean? For me, it means making a short clip of me practicing passage, or filming when I prepare for something, or maybe when I warm up, or maybe when I sight read something. So there are many things, and we talked about this with Sarah on the episode, many things that seem trivial to us musicians, mundane. We do it every day. It's nothing special for us. But for the classical music enthusiast or generally music curious people who are on Instagram and on social media in general, they might find that very interesting about the process of practicing. So if you're doing, I don't know, scales, or if you're playing a rare or special musical instrument, or maybe if you want to say something, a couple of words, or even just play in different ways, the articulation of a passage, the phrasing maybe. And that's actually very worthy content for the social media. So not only, okay, I have this concert and I'm creating content from that when I'm playing, behind the stage moments, rehearsals, and so on and so forth. That's amazing. But what happens when you don't have a concert? You can highlight the process. One other thing, which is quite obvious, but somehow I still kind of struggle with it, is it doesn't have to be perfect. We are our own worst critic when it comes to posting. And of course, we hear all the imperfections, and we might get frustrated and might think, okay, you know what? No, this is not good. Okay, just, stop the recording and not post anything. It doesn't have to be perfect. It can also be framed as work in progress. If you're practicing a passage and it's not going, or if you're recording a longer video, you can take 10, 20, 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 1 minute bits from that video that you're actually happy with. And that's really good. That's good enough to post. That's one of the other takes. It doesn't have to be perfect. Then another thing that I took away from that conversation is make it relevant and relatable to your work. Many times I think we kind of don't really know what to post. Maybe we post something that has nothing to do with our account. The example that Sarah gave was posting cats on stories or in the feed or in your videos, which cats are cute. But the question is it really relevant for your work and what you want to express and convey for social media? By all means, if you have a program that, includes cats and music, absolutely, that is relevant and relatable. But as Sarah gave an example, which was really great, and I really loved that example, is if you're going to a library to consult a manuscript, or if you're researching repertoire, or maybe you're sight reading something, you can make it personal. For example, a story of you taking a cup of coffee at the train station, or of you working on the train or on the plane, or your destination and so on. As long as it's relevant to your work as a musician, that's absolutely great. And in that regard, I think something that needs to be kind of clear for us: what are our content pillars? More about that in a second. The next thing I took away from our conversation with Sarah is think in months or quarter arcs, more months, when it comes to your strategy and what you will be posting about. Maybe you have a recording project in 4 months' time, or maybe you have a concert next month and you're learning repertoire. These arcs and planning these arcs actually make a better plan and a better strategy about what you will be posting about, instead of just randomly trying to find what's trendy or interesting for the algorithm. I actually sat down yesterday, the day before recording this episode, and I went through my schedule from April to July and saw what my activities are so that I can plan around those activities, what I can post, what I want to post, and what's kind of the cadence and the relevance there. And I think this takes away a lot of pressure and a lot of confusion about what will I be posting on my social media. And the last thing that I took for myself from our conversation with Sarah is don't post more just for the sake of posting. Post less, but better quality content. I think we all saw that advice: just post 5 times a day, feed the algorithm, it will pick up at some point, and you will gain followers, you will gain traction, and so on and so forth. While it might make sense that volume kind of will be picked up by the algorithm at some point, it becomes really overwhelming, and I think the risk of us burning out is really high in that regard. And it's better to post something more relevant about what we are doing and post less, maybe 3 times per week or 2 times per week consistently, instead of posting 50 times in 1 week and then just burning out, and for 1 month we really don't even touch our social media. So after this reflection, I would really want also to show you what my workflow is and how I think about social media, and also some of the tools that I use when I plan and create the content for the different social media platforms that I'm on. So the first thing, actually even before my workflow, I was thinking about this when I was reading the book Atomic Habits by James Clear, and I was thinking that I should really get more consistent with my posting on social media and with my strategy in general. And one of the things that James Clear describes in that book is that to make a new habit, you need to make it as visible and as easy to realize and to do as possible. What did that mean for me in my case? I decided that I needed a corner or a wall, like the one you see in my back, that would be kind of ready for creating content. So instead of every single time finding a spot, moving the furniture around, rearranging places, the lights, searching for the right angle, searching for the right light setup, microphone, and so on, I decided to make a quote-unquote Instagrammable corner or Instagrammable wall in my case. That means that basically I'm taking away every single obstacle that puts me and my goal of recording content further away. So I cleared everything. I moved the furniture so that I can just sit, I can practice, and then I can just record. Also, something that I did was to buy a very basic LED light setup that I'm using, and it's almost always mounted. So I just basically need to push a button and the lighting is on. I bought a smartphone stand without LED ring light, but you can also use one of those. And I'm basically just putting my cell phone there and it's ready to record. I can also easily adjust the heights and so on. So basically, the only hurdle that I have right now, the only obstacle, is sit down and press play. So make it as easy as possible to record content. So the next step for me is the planning and the strategy. So I sit down and think about who my audience is on the different social media platforms, what are my content pillars, and what is my monthly or quarter story arc for the social media. What are the content pillars? The content pillars are basically types of contents and topics or subjects of the contents that you will be posting about. If it is relevant for you and maybe you paint and that's relevant to music, that can be one content pillar. One other content pillar, for example, if you're a composer, is your progress when writing a piece. Or for performing musicians, one content pillar could be moments from practicing or performance videos where you play something out of your repertoire, for example. It can also be nature if you really love going to nature, or if you have a passion for, I don't know, coffee, for example. Coffee and music, coffee and writing music can also be one of the content pillars. So think about what's relevant to you and also to your personality. What are you all about? It doesn't need to be private. You don't need to put your private life on social media, but you can make it as creative and as diverse as you wish. Then I brainstorm ideas and hooks. And also something that I'm doing is, for example, when I'm on social media and seeing content of others, I might bookmark it or I might save it somewhere, or I write down in my various apps that I'm using. One is Notion AI for listing ideas that I can reuse for my content, or also Microsoft To-Do List, or even pen and paper can work fine. And when brainstorming ideas and hooks, I'm using different AI platforms and AI models. For example, I'm using a lot the paid version of ChatGPT. I created a project where it's basically all about content creation and digital marketing and digital promotion. Then I'm also experimenting sometimes with Perplexity AI, which is a very good search engine. Google Gemini is also very good, especially for platforms like YouTube, for example, because it's part of Google. And lately I've also been experimenting with Manus AI, written MANUS. And it's I believe, the native platform of Meta for Instagram and Facebook. And what I really like about that is that it takes the most recent information from these platforms and it can give you a detailed strategy about what works, what doesn't work, maybe refine something in your strategy or in your plan. And yeah, these are the tools that I use when exploring the different ideas and different hooks. And I'm giving it actually my content pillars and how I want to look, how I want to sound, what do I want to convey and project on social media. After the brainstorming phase comes the recording, and I normally batch record my content. What does batch recording mean for those who never heard this term? It's basically I reserve on my week, when I'm scheduling my week on Sundays, I reserve a couple of hours on a Monday or on a Friday or when I have time to record all of the content for the upcoming week or maybe even a month. So what I'm using for recording is my smartphone, which I believe today the smartphones have really good cameras, and you can play a bit around with your setup, how you want it to look. You could also use a microphone. I normally don't use it. And once I've recorded the raw videos, I'm going to the editing phase. It can be on the same day or it can even be on a different day. Depends on your time availability. It doesn't need to be the whole day dedicated to that. And for editing, I'm currently using an app called CapCut, so CAPCUT. And there's a free version. Unfortunately, before it was possible to edit the videos for free without a watermark. So basically now the free version, you might have at the end the brand written CapCut or even in the beginning of your video. And when you're doing videos for yourself, I believe that's fine. But when you're doing videos for social media, at least for me, it's a bit unprofessional to have a watermark there in some weird corner of a video. So I'm using the paid version, but you have really lots of tools in the paid version and it makes editing really simple. I also recently started experimenting a bit with Instagram Edits, which is, I believe, a native app of Meta for Instagram. And I find that it works well as like CapCut. What I don't like a bit, but that's my personal taste, is that when you're creating a video or editing a video now in Edits and you post it on Instagram, for example, I believe there's the small logo beneath that says created with edits, try it, or something like that. So that's one of the kind of downsides of it. But if you don't mind it, it's absolutely fine. It's absolutely worth using. I believe there are also other editing programs. These are the ones I'm using. You can also leave a comment with what tools you're using for editing content so that the other viewers and listeners can see it and maybe try them out. And after the editing comes the scheduling. Before I was kind of posting in the moment, maybe going to analytics to see at what time to post. I would set a reminder to go on social media, to post in that moment, maybe prepare the draft and then just hit publish. But it's a lot of work and it's not always possible to be there present at that exact time, best time to post. So in my case, I'm using Meta Business Suite, again, a native app for Meta, so Facebook and Instagram. And I find it very useful because you can schedule, you can create all your content, edit everything, decide when to post what, and you can schedule it for, I believe, up to 45 days in advance or something like that. So if you have content for 1 month, you can actually go there and it actually shows you when your audience is more active. So you can pinpoint the best time for your content to be seen by your audiences. And you can actually also save drafts, create and edit reels, create posts, and so on and so forth. So it's a very useful scheduling app. And for TikTok, for example, there's TikTok Studio, which you can use as a web browser, or there's also an app that you can use from your phone or from your devices. And that's also very useful for analytics, metrics, seeing instantly what worked best, scheduling posts, and so on. So there are also other platforms that allow that feature. I believe now also Linktree has that option, Canva has also that option. So there are many more tools that you can use for scheduling. I use these two because they are linked directly to the platforms, so that's what I'm using. Also, a mention about an amazing tool that I'm using for creating my carousels or posts on social media, or also thumbnails for YouTube and covers for singles or for social media or for podcast episodes. Canva, I use it for basically every single design that I'm doing. And yeah, that's definitely a tool that you should definitely check out if you don't know it. So all of these tools that I'm using are in the description of the episode. You can pause me, go and check them out, and also try some of them out. And again, leave in the comments which tools you are using and you are finding absolutely necessary for your work when it comes to social media and digital marketing. One other thing that I'm doing is I'm not recording the content only for one platform. I'm recording maybe a longer video, or I'm editing the same video and repurposing it, adapting it for a different platform. Which basically can also mean, okay, I created a 1-minute video, and this video I can actually go and post on YouTube Shorts. I can schedule it for Instagram Reels. I can post this video also on TikTok, on Facebook, and wherever. So basically you do the work once and you can just adapt the caption, the copy of the text for the different platforms. If you're feeling overwhelmed with social media, because social media is a part of our job as musicians, but it doesn't have to take over, because I don't remember who said it, but I think Bernhard Karras in one of his webinars said, if you are focusing all the time on social media, you will become a very good social media manager, but you are a musician. So we need to recalibrate where you spend your time. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, here are some of the things to focus on. Choose 1 or 2 platforms at most where you want to be. You don't need to be on all of them. You can be on Instagram and YouTube, or you can be on Instagram and TikTok, or you can be on Facebook and YouTube. It actually really depends a lot on your audience. Choose 2 or 3 types of contents and create a simple weekly rhythm that you can sustain so that it doesn't become overwhelming. For example, you could create 1 reel of you practicing or of you performing. You can create 1 carousel with maybe some thoughts or maybe some moments from your past month. And you can create also a post about maybe with a photo of you with your instrument, or a reflection, or even a quote that you found interesting. And aim for that consistency. Again, from the podcast episode with Sarah, it's better to post less content, but better quality content than post all over the place and the content is really not good. Don't try to be everywhere on every single platform. Don't compare your posts with someone who has been doing this for a very long time and maybe even has a production team behind them and filming team, and the content seems super professional, super polished, and super curated. Your goal is not to be like them. Your goal is to create content that relates to you and resonates with your audience. Don't try to be perfect. And also don't let social media take over the work that will bring you actual work. And also don't wait until you have more to show. I'm guilty of that. And I am now experimenting with this new strategy that I've put in place. And I think I will manage to be more consistent with my social media. Before finishing this episode, if you want help thinking through your own social media strategy as a musician, I've created a free prompt that you can use with AI to help you figure out your content pillars, your audience, your scheduling rhythm, what hooks to use, what ideas to use, and it's in the description of this episode. Just click on the link and you will receive it as an email to help you out with your own social media strategy. And we finish this episode with 1 question for you. What do I want people to understand about me and my work when they see me online? Thanks again for listening. If you like this episode, subscribe to the podcast, like this video if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe on Spotify or wherever you're listening to this podcast. Also, rate and review, leave a comment, send in questions on Instagram or through email, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in a new episode.